Welcome back to the channel, where we document the growth of a $100,000 account using technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and news. If that's what you're into, stick around. All right. Well, what a week so far. Lots of news coming in on the daily basis. I mean, the most recent news we're seeing is the election in New York City for the mayor, where Mr. Mamdani, I guess, is a socialist, and yeah, he got the Democratic nominee, so that took center stage. Another thing that we're monitoring that will, I think it's going to make itself into the portfolio pretty soon here is stablecoin news. I think we had the CEO of Visa on CNBC talking about how, if people want stablecoins, Visa could get involved in that game. And yeah, we saw those shares rise and circle the USDC provider, start to kind of pull back here. But we had some big moves in the portfolio today on some of the Chinese fintech names that are bringing in some stable coins into the mix, and so they're up a lot. We'll talk about that later on in the video, but yeah, some decent moves there. But yeah, that's about it for the news front. But let's move on to the market monitor and see what's going on there. Some interesting action. All right, for those of you who are new to the channel, the market monitor is a collection of data that I've taken over time. It basically tracks where stocks are, whether they're in uptrends, downtrends, or sideways moves after uptrends or downtrends. It also tracks some internal, some short-term moves, whether stocks are moving up on the short term or down on the short term, and whether they're closing at the high or low of the day. So with that, let's check out where we're at. So we are currently market monitor green, and we are on day 3. So we've already moved about 2% in the cycle, which is a pretty decent move in 3 days. And the average move is about 3.78%, and it takes 12.6 days. I marked today as a distribution, although the index I tracked did not go down 0.2%, but there was a lot of underlying distribution today. It was actually a pretty nasty day. And so I marked it as a somewhat stall day, distribution day. So we're going to keep monitoring that because it was actually pretty nasty under the surface. Although, the semiconductors and some big names were keeping the index higher. Okay, yeah, so moving onwards, some interesting things to note. Moving to the stage analysis. Yeah, we had a pretty decent pullback here in the stage analysis. As we can see here, stage 2 stocks went from 60% to about 53%. Stage 1 is at 13%, stage 3 is at 7%, and stage 4 moved back up to 26%. So we're seeing some stocks move from stage 1 back to stage 4, which is not what the bulls want to see. So we're going to keep monitoring that. So let's move on to some internals here. One of the most interesting things I saw today is the fact that the VIX went down, and it's sitting here at 16.68, even though there was a lot of distribution under the surface. So we're going to keep monitoring that. Lots of lower lows, 56 lower lows, and 622 stocks that ended at the low of the day. That's a big number. So I'm thinking, that we're going to have some more downside coming soon. Moving onwards to the 5% moves, we had about 22 stocks make 5% moves on $100 million volume or more. And as we can see here, the short-term momentum up is actually upticking to 138. So they heavily sold into this rally today, which is very interesting underneath the surface. And then we're seeing TD buy pick up, which is typically bullish when this starts getting to like 600, 800. So it's very interesting to see this number tick up, even though the short-term momentum is ticking up. It should kind of work the opposite way, where it should tick up when short-term momentum down is ticking up. But interesting. Also, we see the 63 period average of the stage analysis move down to 67 from 74, which is a kind of an overbought reading. and the long-term breadth is still hanging in there around 16. So altogether, interesting picture. We had a big move very fast in this new reinvigorated uptrend where we have 2% move already in a couple days. So is it just a little pullback, or is it going to start something bigger? Which I'm kind of leaning towards that. We should pull back here, and this should be a failed follow through day, given how many leaders are getting hit today. But let's go move on to the portfolio and see what's going on there. All right. So again, for those of you guys who are new, this is basically I'm tracking a $100,000 account that I created in the beginning of this year in 2025, and just sharing sharing the journey with you guys, and hopefully you can learn something, and I can go back and I can watch how I'm acting in certain moments like today. So as you can see here, account sits at 108, 490. And yeah, we were down pretty good today, even with the market, flat. So we were down like 0.92%, whereas the market was flat. So lots of stocks in the portfolio got hit today, even though we had some stocks like making big moves, and we'll talk about that later. The majority of them were down, even though we sold calls. So it was a pretty nasty day, under the surface. All right, and if you see here, the portfolio is doing pretty well. It's beating the S&P 500 by about 6. This thing is a little bit wrong, so let's just call it 7%, which is nice. We're happy about that. We're still outperforming, but the most recent moves where the index is going really strong and some of the leaders are getting hit, we're losing some of that outperformance. So we're monitoring that. But let's go on and see what's making the moves in the account. Let's see what's moving up today and what's kind of taking us down. So as we can see here, we had a big move in Tiger or Up FinTech Holdings. This is a Chinese broker, kind of like Robinhood, and it was up 22% today. I think they're adding some stable coins or something. I couldn't really find the news on it, but a big massive move there. Elf Beauty continues to do well for us. Bitcoin continues to do well. I think we got the dividend today, and the gold and silver miners are doing well. And yeah, we made a video, I think last week, where we were talking about kind of the top was in on uranium, and we're kind of seeing that happen here. We lightened up a little bit, but still, those things were up a lot, so they got a lot of downside if they were to pull back here. So on the loss side, we have New Scales going down 10% today. This FT Aviation is down. I think that has to do with probably the war, because it's an airline engine repair kind of company. So we'll have to see what's going on there. And a lot of the uranium and then the tech stocks are pulling back today. So interesting stuff there. Now, mind you, this portfolio is a bond portfolio, or mainly an income portfolio, right? We're trying to get QQQ returns, but as you can see here, we actually increased the yield on the account because we rotated some of those gains from the uranium stocks into dividends, dividend payer, and also a solar stock that we sold some call options on. But as you can see, the passive income from the account actually went up recently to 5.12 from, I think it was going lower about 4.8. So we like that. We bought a little bit more ZIM, and that's looking good. So let's get on to the TA section of the video and see what's going on there. All right, so what you're looking at here is ticker symbol IWV, the Russell 3000 index. And what you see here, I drew this little line. This is basically just my cycle analysis that I did in the market monitor segment, where I said, it's 3.78% in about 12.6 days. That's what we got going on here. And as you can see here, it's already got the majority of the gain here. This rally could already be over. Because half the gains are already taken, which is probably why they're selling the leaders right now, into this rally, because it already rallied so much, so quickly. So we could see this thing fail here pretty quick, and people taking profits, and having the market monitor go back to yellow and then red and etc. So we're gonna monitor that. I just wanted you guys to check out the big moves today in Tiger. So typically when these big volume bars come on heavy volume, it's pretty bearish. But given that this thing is trying to break out of this range here, potentially it could be bullish. So we went ahead and we sold the $11 calls here out in August. So, but if this thing gets above today's price, that could be very, very bullish for this thing, because I've been in this thing for a while, and it's finally starting to go. If we go to the monthly here, it's let's see here. Yeah, this thing could have the potential. I think most of the anchored VWAP, if I put an anchored VWAP here, yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, the anchor VWAP's right there. So I mean, the anchor VWAP is around what is that? Yeah, around $11. So if this thing gets going, yeah, it could be like an LEU, back here where LEU is sort of breaking out of this larger base. If I go to the monthly here, yeah, you see the LEU, this moving average right here, and it broke out of that moving average right there, and it went up a lot. From there, it went up another 100%. Once it broke out and that kind of looks like the tiger candle. Actually, the tiger candle kind of looks like this, but still very similar to the tiger candle. Like if we go back here, yeah. So that's kind of what we're thinking here is like if tiger can get going, this thing is just gonna go straight up, go up another 100%. Or more. I mean, long term, this thing tops out at $40. So maybe we're looking at a $40 move here. So 4x. So yeah, we're gonna monitor the calls, but we're pretty constructive on this stock. But then again, it all bases off if we can close above this high here, because that's a lot of volume coming in. I think there was a lot of $9 calls being bought, or something like that. So we're gonna monitor that. But it could just pull in apps, because like we thought this was bullish too, and this is breaking out, and this is what happens, if it backs away from these high volume days, it can just give it all up. So that's why you got to sell some calls into it, just to be careful, and go from there. So yeah, that's Tiger. But yeah, I mean, so the nuclear stocks are starting to pull back. We sold some at 207. We made a nice sell there. And volume's picking up here, so I think this is done for considerable amount of time. The distance from the quarterly moving average can pull back. We still think it's somewhat of a move like this, where it's just going to go sideways for maybe 7 months, 6 months here. Give it some time to digest this giant move. So if we do 6 months going out here, yeah, maybe sideways for that long, and we're just going to be selling calls the whole time. And yeah, just collecting off of that move, and then hopefully it makes another move. So enthusiastic about that. We still think like, these silver miners are getting ready to make another big move, because it's like this AG just looks perfect. It almost looks too perfect, because if we draw something like this, where we draw this area, smartest guys in the room area, they're selling here, but it doesn't look like much. It kind of looks like they could be done. If this thing gets above, let's say, $8.70, I mean, this is just a beautiful pickup in volume and interest in everything. So, I mean, we did a video on this where we're pretty enthusiastic about the silver miners. So anyways, yeah, Tesla, we sold some Tesla into this little rally here because we saw the volume pick up here. Just like over here, and yeah, we're selling into that because it's going into this area where they started selling anyways, and it had a lot of volume. And if you look at this candle, it's very small compared to this one, so there was a lot of people selling into this day, and so we just decided to take the gains because we want to reverse the move. So we sold a little bit of that. We lightened up, and yeah, just waiting for the next thing. These solar stocks, we got some SEDG here. We're already up like 30% on that thing, and also some EMPH. But how much? We're up 14%. We got hit pretty hard on ARRY. I made that video, and they did an offering. Sometimes that happens where it looks great, and then the company just like does an offering. But yeah. sometimes you get unlucky. That's why you have a basket of stocks, right? Um, because you never really know. But I mean, this amount of volume coming in with this kind of spread here, it just tells me that a lot of people are buying this. I mean, this is like massive volume 2 days in a row. It just tells, yeah. I mean, these people are buying a lot of it into the offering, and I'm still bullish on it. You know, the solar thing is actually acting very well in a pretty nasty tape today. So we're interested in looking forward to that. So that was kind of the last thing I wanted to give you guys an update on, because I know some of you probably saw that video and was like, oh wow, he's like, but it gave me an opportunity because I only had about 0.6% position, and then I went to 1.8. So I bought a lot down here on this stock. So we were actually happy that it pulled back the way it did, and looking forward to it. You know, going sideways slash rising from here. We had sold the $9 Julys, and then we bought those back for a profit, and then we sold the $8 August. So we're looking at that, and that's kind of, you know, if this thing makes a 30% move in 2 months, we're looking good on that. So hey, thanks for joining, and yeah, if you guys like the content, please consider commenting on your thoughts and liking, and hey, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. So thanks again. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.